Them song will get upon that was a dumb, very dumb one. How you going, Uncle Leon? What's going on, mate?
Pretty good, mate. Really channeling some early 90s right there with the theme song. You had a good week?
It's been okay. It's been busy. Slightly less busy than the last week. I went to the Royal Show yesterday. That was cool.
Did ya?
Yeah, mate.
When's the last time you went?
Oh, we went last year as well. Kids, mate. Like to take the kids.
Yeah,
when was the last time you
course.
went? You ever taken Elspeth?
Yep, we've been once. Mm-hmm. One, she was like, yeah, this is fine. This is cool. And that was about it. I think I went for the first time when I was 11 or 12. So
Oh, really? That's quite late.
yeah, absolutely hounded my parents.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, Mum, can we go to the Royal Show? Mum, can we go to the Royal Show? Mum, can we go to the Royal Show?
Yep.
Never went, and then finally went, and it was like the greatest day ever. Mm-hmm. And and then sort of went. I remember going a bunch of times. But yeah, it's a thing, isn't it?
Man, it's so expensive. Like I had to, do the rides and stuff. You go get these tokens. So 10 tokens was $70. So, mate, it was not a cheap day.
I mean, I got to go to the show, but we never got on the rides. We just got, the free yogurts and
you know what?
cake samples.
I don't think we ever went on rides when I was a kid either, but that's the difference. I want my kids to have fun and not just like buy a shitload of show bags. And although, man, my both of them ate each like half a bag of fucking dairy floss, so that was a bit nightmarish. And actually, funnily enough, so we were leaving. It's actually not a funny story. It wasn't funny at the time, but it's funny to look back on. But, you're walking around, a bit hot, get a bit of sun on you, and all you want to do is get on that train and go home. And so we rounded the corner. I could see the train like meters away from me. And Amy, my partner, says, let me just get my wallet out of the bag. I was wearing the backpack, and her wallet's in there. And she's like, I was got to find the train ticket just in case. So she's fumbling around with that. All right, let's go. And I hit, oh no! And I turn around like, what's going on? She's like, the wind blew and my hat was about to fall off, so I grabbed that. But in the process, I've thrown my wallet on the train tracks. So that wasn't very fun. That was
wow.
Yeah, we couldn't jump on there and get the wallet, man. Like, or the purse, whatever. It's just they don't let you do that. You get fined if you jump onto the tracks. So we had to wait like an hour for them to like get through all this stuff, and then someone from the rails went and jumped on there and grabbed it. So that was a bit of a pain, but other than that, it was a pretty fun day. Just mate, grumpy kids, so much sugar,
just hepped up on goofballs, mate.
Yep. So all I wanted to do, man, the whole time I was there is because you said we went last year, and I had the greatest donut of my life. I've never had a donut as good as this donut. I've been thinking about it for 12 months. It was crispy. It was sweet. It was just perfect. Absolutely perfect. And then I couldn't find it again. I thought I found the place. And when I found it, I'm like, I actually went to a different place because I'm like, I'm just going to have to try every donut at the Royal Show just in case.
Yeah.
So I bought one. And then I was like, oh, wait, there it is. That's the place. I found it again. Better buy 6 just in case. And then I had 6 in my thing, and I ate one. I'm like, this is not the same thing.
This is not the one.
Still got a bunch of donuts at home waiting for later. Anyway, mate, that's enough about me. What about you?
I've just been slugging away, mate. Just making content, as the kids like to say. I'm going away on a holiday on Sundays. So, as usual, when you go away for 2 weeks, it means you should do about 6 weeks of work the week before you go away. That's reasonable.
How many weeks will you have been away this year?
Oh, that's a very good question.
Because you got another one after you come back as well, right?
Yeah, the Noosa Guitar Show at the start of November.
Is that the only one?
Will be fun. That's the only one booked in so far that I know of. Mate, there's still time left in 2024 for me to end up on another continent. Let's see. Let's brainstorm this. I went to New Zealand for 3 weeks. Mm-hmm. I went to Sydney for 9.5 weeks. So that's 3 months right there.
Yep.
We did the Ingve Australian tour, which was half a week. Plus we did another half week where we did Melbourne and a bunch of stuff. So there's another week. What are we up to? 13.5 weeks. I went to Budapest for a week and a half. So 15 weeks, and this will be another 2.5. So yeah, nearly a third of the year I will have spent away from home, which
pretty good.
Which at the start of the year I was like, cool. So got nothing booked in. It's going to be a nice
cruisy,
just consistent year. I'll just stay at home and make guitar videos all day, and that'll be it. And I've been making guitar videos all day while I haven't been away. It's been interesting, man, because that's the thing, man, is in between all the being away from home and touring stuff, I've, got the YouTube channel going away. People and companies have products that they want demos for, and I want to do those demos. So it's been very, very frantic, like doing lots and lots of stuff in advance. And yeah, I was looking at the scheduled videos that I have up. I have stuff scheduled until November at the moment. So 30 something videos in the canon, ready to go. And I have a list here with another 5 I have to finish in the next 2 days. So that'll be fun.
Well, mate, you've got to finish in time for the GF on Saturday afternoon.
And that's the real reason we're here to discuss. How did you like the bloody prelims, mate?
Mate, the Brizzy, was it Brizzy game? Yeah, that one was pretty good. Brizzy and Cats. My whole family, I got home from the gym for the last quarter. I was watching it on my phone at the gym. And, Amy doesn't really care that much about footy, and my son really doesn't. But he likes the Brisbane Lions for some reason. He likes the Lions. He likes the Eagles. He doesn't care about the Fremantle Dockers, which is the team that obviously now I support, but also am employed by. So that's quite funny. But we watched the last quarter, and it was so... Did you watch it, or were you listening to it?
I was listening to it, yeah. I don't have television reception for Channel 7 at home, so I just listened to ABC Radio with Mick Malthouse and Adam Ramanauskas.
That's right, because I told you BT was going nuts on Triple M. Did you flick over?
I did flick over, and he was going nuts, as you would expect.
Cameron, he gets to go, he's got to go. So, but anyway, so we watched the last couple of minutes, and we're watching the last couple of minutes and screaming at the TV. The whole family was getting into it, and my son kind of got a picture of what it's like to enjoy sports. So we'll see.
Good man.
Yeah. So the GF will be fun, mate. Who do you like?
I kind of actually like both teams. They play highly desirable brands of football. I feel like there's been this trend in the finals where a team has come out and played sick one week and then got bundled out. And I feel like that team is Brisbane. Like they gave it their all to get there. The classic, the cliche of they played their grand final the week before. So I wouldn't be surprised, but also wicked team and lots of guns. I don't know. Wouldn't you just love to see big Joe Danaher stand up, kick a bag, and not win the Norm Smith medal?
Yeah, mate. I'm a bit torn, to be honest. I think I'm pulling for Sydney, weirdly enough, but
I mean, I think for me, because the show I was playing was adjacent to the Bloods HQ, so I just saw loads of Sydney players going in every day and saw the big thing. So I feel like I'm slightly on the Sydney train, but also the Lions are, they got some wicked players. And when they go, they go.
Yep.
They're really fun to watch. And I don't know why, when you watch a game of football and someone looks like they're a small player, the whole time I thought Cam Rayner was this tiny dude, but he's like taller than both of us.
Yeah, he's huge.
And just 95 kilos of pure muscle. Like he's Chris Judd.
Yep. They're all huge, man.
Basically.
Who did I see a picture of the other day that was surprisingly tall? Who was it? I can't remember now, but yeah, man. It's I saw a picture of Oscar McInerney next to Katy Perry because she's doing the halftime entertainment. And you go like, man, that guy looks like he's a fucking giant. Like he's a ruckman, but he is a giant.
Kingy said the best thing about him was like, yeah, mate, the last time the Big O played on Grundy, he just brained him.
Hey, Kane. I think next year I think Kane is still doing SEN, by the way, so we'll still be able to catch up on that. But anyway, mate, look, enough about football.
I think either team could win it. They've in the last two, they've both been recent grand final losers, so someone's going to be super heartbroken and someone's going to be super stoked. Who's your tip for the Norm Smith? Give me a prediction and a smoky.
I'm going to give you prediction smoky. I'm just going to give you a smoky.
Okay.
James Rowbottom.
Okay.
You like that?
Yep. Not really a smoky, but I reckon Norm Smith, Errol Goulden. Doesn't he seem like a guy who would win a Norm Smith?
He does.
Because they're going to tag Heaney.
Yeah. Yeah,
they'll probably...
The Chad...
He's like...
did you hear like
the Chad?
Yeah, did you listen to the Champion Data thing the other day, like yesterday?
No, I've been meaning to catch it up.
I was talking about how the best performance in a grand final of all time was Luke
Shoe
Shuey.
Dog.
Yeah, Luke Shuey.
Yep.
By like a fucking country mile.
Yeah.
And then Dusty. And then I think the Chad was next. But like the Chad's last half in the 2022 grand final was like off the charts. So,
Yep.
the Chad can pull it out. And a little bit of chat from old mate Scoey about maybe if the Chad wins a GF, then might be more willing to move to the West Coast again. So we'll see what happens. So that's, partly Uncle and for Sydney. But anyway, what about you, mate? So you are like final tip, did you say?
Final tip. I think the Swans. It's the Swans grand final to lose and Brisbane's to win, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think I'm with you. I'm going to say Swans by 2.5 goals.
Yeah. It'll be a tight one.
Yep.
A tight one. But enough of this chat about football, Troy.
Yep.
You got some new gear this week. I got some new gear this week.
I've just been spending money, mate.
Give me the not so interesting.
It's so boring, the things that I finally worked out this problem, you see. I need to, this is a very boring one, right?
Go forth and articulate.
What do you like to do for a tuner, mate? You like to crack the lid open and get rid of that water and just have it, or you like to put some beans in there?
Well, I've been making tuna melts the last week. Been getting into it.
Nice.
Yeah, bit of a deli sandwich. So I like it melt.
Yeah, right. Well, I have a tuning problem because I might have mentioned this before, but every time I record a guitar, I go through a DI first. The guitar goes into the DI, and then it goes to Pro Tools, and then it links through to go to the amps. But I have used a tuner on like a Pro Tools tuner and put that on my big TV because it's a tuner. How hard can it be? Well, let me tell you, Uncle Leon. There's a lot of guitar players that I've worked with that for some reason they don't understand how to use a plug-in tuner. It's very strange to me. It just works like any other tuner. But I don't know if have you ever noticed that like some people when they tune up, it's like they're so precise with it. If you hit the string a little harder than like one pluck and then a little softer on the next, the string will bend and it will go slightly out of tune. So you kind of have to be a bit more precise with how you pluck the string, or just like kind of get it close enough. Some people are real weird about not understanding that. So anyway.
Oh man, like just the pet peeve, right? When someone overshoots the tuning and then they just tune down to pitch.
Yep. You got to tune it down a bit more and then tune him back up to pitch.
Yes.
That's how it works.
This is the one thing if you play guitar you actually need to know. That's the most important thing you can ever learn, because in that way it will actually stay in tune a bit more good. I mean, I remember doing Back to Zero and having the neck pickup on the single cut with the tone control all the way down. So if I had to tune, I just flick the switch, do it that way, and that kind of worked. That's a good one. But yeah, you got to be consistent with the
old
plucking. Yeah.
But anyway,
the other thing I saw as well in toning a guitar, the classic, like you check the 12th fret against the open string. Hot tip is you check the 3rd fret against the 15th fret, because the first, second, and third fret, like you have the nut come into play there, so it eliminates the nut as an aspect. And I mean, you can put a capo on and do that. So.
Did you get that from an everything you knew about tuning guitar was wrong YouTube video? Here's 5 things.
Certainly didn't. Shout out to Guitar Tech Andy Eagle, because he posts on a few forums that I really like and has some amazing tips. And I was like, oh, that makes so much sense. Yeah. So go the Eagles.
But anyway, so I've the plug-in thing, it's pissed people off, so I don't do that anymore. And man, I've done sessions where, and this is not an exaggeration, I watched a guy tune up for 5 minutes using a plug-in tuner. And what made it worse is because he was using that.
Because it's just on.
Yeah, so I've got the amp blaring in the other room, and a lot of guitar players like the monitors quite loud when they're recording, so it was blasting me. It was the most like assaulting experience that I've had. I've had a few of them like that. So anyway, having the ability to mute the guitar when you're tuning is kind of important. So it's all really boring shit. Like it's practical, it's important, but it's very boring to discuss. Anyway, I bought I went and got a new pitch black tuner, like rack tuner the other day.
Nice.
The Pitch Black X, which
the Pitch Black, currently known as X.
But the difference between the new ones and the old ones is the old ones used to have a mute switch on it, which you could control the foot pedal, which is great. chuck that in line. No worries. You want to mute. I actually have Ryan, like your bass player, Ryan's Korg. What is it called? Not a pitch black.
The one before that.
Yeah, the DGT or GT, whatever it is, 1000 or something. But it's a bit, the display on it's looking a bit weird at the moment, which is why I got a new one. But that's got the mute switch on it.
I've got a DTG1, the original
that's
Korg
right,
rack
yeah.
tuner.
Yeah, this is the 1000, I think. It's the silvery, newer looking one. Anyway, it doesn't. The new ones don't have the remote mute switch on it.
What are you doing, Korg?
Yeah, dumb, very dumb. But you can still mute it on the front, but you just want it to be convenient and be easy. So anyway, I've literally been racking my brain for like weeks because I want everything, Leon. This is the thing. I want clean signal path. I don't want anything in the way between the guitar and the amp if I can help it. I mean, but you
also want flexibility.
Yeah. I want flex. All I want is everything, if you understand what I'm saying. So
Might know what you're talking about there.
I've been trying to find a way that I can remote mute like my guitar signal with a foot pedal. And it's very difficult to find a product that does that. You think all I want to do is I want to have a thing over there somewhere and I want a foot switch just to go boom, yep, mute, boom, off. And couldn't fucking find one. So I got the tuner, tick, no worries, can tune my guitar now. But currently, even if I had the old one with the foot switch, it's in line. So, is it going to degrade the tone? Who fucking knows? Who cares? But I finally worked out what I needed, and I went and got it today. I got one of these JHS switchback little things. It's currently set up. Oh, here's the box for it.
Just a little utility device.
Little utility device. And if you ever watch his channel, he uses it to compare to AV pedals. So you can put. It's got two. It's basically just two loops, right? You got loop A, loop B. And if you want to just quickly compare two pedals or whatever, no problemo. The way I've got it set up, it's got a guitar in and a through out to the amp. So that always is connected. And then I just have the output of one loop going to the tuner and the output of the other side doing nothing.
Yep.
And then it's got a switch on it so I can go A or B. Loop A, loop B. If nothing's connected to one of the loops, like how I have it, then the signal just passes through. So great.
Nice.
Tick, no worries. But it's also got a remote jack so I can remote control it with a foot pedal. So bam, no worries.
There you go. That's all we wanted in life.
It's very easy.
So you've sorted it.
I have.
You can tune.
I can tune up. And there is currently no tuner in line. Like, I'm sure it really doesn't matter, but at least it's a problem that probably doesn't exist that has been solved. So there's it's a little like when I see new products come out, this is the stuff that I want to see ins and outs, remote control capabilities. It's all I care about because ultimately a pedal is only going to sound so many different ways. Distortion only sounds so many different ways. And it's fun. And sometimes great companies like Universal Audio bring out new pedals that sound fantastic. I don't care about that, Uncle Leon. All I care about is how can I turn it on and off. Has it got MIDI on it?
Yeah. If it's Universal Audio, definitely not.
But anyway, that's my little story. But I hope you appreciate my little segue into one of the next things we're going to talk about today, which is that new little UA Dumble pedal. What do you think about that, mate?
I'm not a big Dumble guy, so whatever. But
so you don't think much of it then? No, I'm kidding.
I mean, the demos that I heard sound really good, and the Dumble thing is a thing. It's just how many more of these single function pedals are they going to pump out? They've got what? A Fender Tweed, a Black Panel Fender, what was the other one? The Ruby, there's the Lion, there's a 5150, there's the Dumble. I saw a thing where they're coming out with it got leaked somewhere, like a dual rectifier. Mm-hmm. What else? I feel like there's more, but I mean, I totally get why they're doing it. They're just kind of saying it's like, hey, do you want this sound, but you don't care about having to have all this other stuff that you're not going to use, in like a modeler, like a Stomp or an FM3 or something. But yeah, I mean, we're talking about the Nano Cortex last week. That at least, you can capture amps, which isn't, has different things going on to the modeling thing, but at least had a few effects built in and things like that. This is kind of just like, yep, you got a one or two variations of the same amp, and you've got a few built-in cabs. You can't load your own IRs, which is one thing that really bugs me about those. Like the Lion looks like it would be awesome, just like Marshall in a box, easy. It's going to sound good, but the fact that you can't put your favorite IR in there is like, just the one, just let me do it. I know it's possible. So yeah, and there's a few things where you have to, in order to get full functionality from the pedal, you have to register it with the app. And I don't know, there's just some strange choices that have been made with that along the way, in my opinion. And I mean, having a 5150 in a box pedal and a Recto in a box pedal, they feel like things that you could just do in one, like have a best of high gain amps thing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of like put 3 in a pedal on a Switch and have it MIDI controllable.
Yeah, which is basically the Strymon Iridium, right? It's just kind of like
the high gain version of that, yeah.
It would be cool if they did a high gain version of that again, because the Plexi in there sounds okay, but
I thought the Vox in that sounded okay.
The Vox in that sounds really good, like sounds great, but it's better at like the high gain, almost Marshall crunch thing than the Marshall. Like it's interesting. The Iridium, the Iridium's also, both of these pedals that we're talking about, they're stereo in, stereo out, so a big market, I imagine, as well. You got a big board full of Strymons that you're running in stereo into 2 amps, and you don't want to carry 2 amps around. Well, easy way to do that, go DI, or, send it into a power amp and cab or something like that. They're just like strangely hamstrung. It's like not playing Marcus Bontempelli in the middle of a final. Well, Luke Beveridge would have loved some UA pedals.
I was going to say.
He would be all about them. That's what the sort of thing that they align with. So, I mean,
I guess
Ruby,
TC's got the similar thing as well, don't they? But,
the Ampworks pedals. I think they're considerably cheaper.
Yeah, I was going to say, because what are the UA ones? Are they 500 or 600 Australian each, more?
Yeah, $399 US. Don't quote me on it, but
so it's probably 600
in that sort of vicinity.
Oz,
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. It's probably the Dumble thing specifically is not for me.
I mean, but I think as well, it's the hardest people to convince that digital is okay are probably people who are going to play a Dumble or a Dumble style amp. So it's an interesting move. And obviously people in their defense, I can totally understand why, but the first pedals they came out with, the Starlight, the Golden, and what's the modulation one called? The Astra.
Oh, yeah.
That feature set to me, especially on the Golden, like I own the Golden. I love it. It's got an amazing sounding spring reverb. It's got the EMT 140 plate sim that UA do, which sounds incredible.
Yep.
And it's got the UA 224 lexicon in there, which is amazing as well. It's like 3 very distinct types of reverb. They sound fantastic. It doesn't have MIDI and heaps of presets, which is annoying, and the app doesn't let you like deep tweak stuff, which, in the video that I did with it, I kind of voiced all these concerns, and UA will never change it. It's like you buy the pedal and you kind of get what you're getting, but I haven't really heard anything else do that, like 224 style reverb. It's amazing. Like it's worth it just for that pedal. The Starlight has the deluxe Memory Man model in it, which sounds really good, and the other delays are really good. Like that to me hits more of the balance of like, you've got 3 distinct things in the pedal. You're probably only going to use one at a time, but they're there if you want them.
Yep.
And you have your main preset and your alt preset on there, and that's kind of cool. So with the amp in a box pedals, I don't know, it feels again like just slightly under, I think, what makes it, the value proposition isn't as enticing, especially given there's so many other things. Yep. Doing the amp in a box thing and giving you more options.
With a product like that, so what do you like if you're UA, right, and you're putting this out, what do you think they're expecting people to plug that into? And I'm just curious, like, do you reckon they're going like, all right, the user of this is going to they're going to use it, for example, at their church, so it's maybe not for the or maybe for the Dumble thing, but so it's going to be a direct sort of to front of house in-ears thing, or do you think it's like, this person might use it for FRFR? Like, because I wonder, less so with if you're going direct to PA, but like, with the Fender thing, like, what is it, the Tone Master?
Yes.
Yeah, I guess like they make the whole system so you can plug it into their FRFR, and I'm not sure it's necessarily voiced like to work best with one another. Same as like Line 6 have got their power cab and stuff.
Yeah. Have you tried the Fender FRFRs?
Yeah, Peter's got one.
They're good. They're good. Hey, like I was
he's
really surprised when I played one.
Yeah, I think we might have talked about it, but I think the thing about that, which I thought was really great, is the very simple 3-band EQ on the top, and then I think it's cut or a
cut control.
Cut control. Great. Like that's pretty much all you need. Whereas I think like the other FRFRs I've tried, or even just going through a powered wedge, like you typically don't have any EQ controls on it whatsoever. And often what I find is like the pingy high frequency bullshit is what I want to get rid of. So just wind it back a little bit. I tried it with the IRX and I really liked it.
And especially because you want to give front of house as much information as possible. So if you cut all the high end from your sound to make it sound good through your FRFR, it's probably going to sound like crap out front of house.
Yeah.
So that way it's like you put the cut control on the FRFR, so you're just like, yep, that's where it needs to go. So yeah, interesting. I mean, I'm sure they'll churn them out and keep making them. It's, they're UA, let's not say it's cool to dump on them, but I can understand why people often have concerns. And I also understand why people love their stuff because, if you want to like record things and you just get an Apollo Twin, it just works. Like I've had one for 8 years. It just does the thing. I'm playing through an Apollo 8 at the moment. Well, I'm talking through an Apollo 8 at the moment. It's like, it just, especially if you're a Mac user, it's sort of in that just works category, which a lot of the time you want. But to get back to your question, the church thing I imagine would be huge because, Fender Deluxes and AC-15s are very much the amp of choice there. So
I guess the reason
Ruby.
The reason I ask it is like
done.
If you're pitching it to like a traditionalist style player, which kind of feels like that's the point if you're going to have that selection of amps and nothing that's necessarily like overly modern and probably high gainy as well. Do you have to like sell that person on an ecosystem of right now you need to buy this specific playback device so you can listen to it, or I don't know, like it's
maybe that is the appeal where it's like, hey, are you sick of sticking your amp in an ISO box at church or not being able to crank it and you don't want to, you've already got stuff. To me, it appeals to like, you've already got all the stuff and you don't want to take your amp. So here's some really good sounding examples of popular amps, which in that case, I think makes a lot of sense. And also you don't need the special UA, FRFR and some other thing to make it work. It just like, you can, the one thing though is like, you got to take it out, you got to register it with the app and then you get some extra functions, but then you're kind of done, but then you can sort of use the app. And it's definitely as of what you see is what you get kind of pedal. I mean, I think the Ruby I haven't tried the Lion yet, to be fair. People seem to rave about that, but like the Ruby sounded great. Like it's a really good example of the AC30 sound, and you can get a rock thing out of it. You can get a really chimey thing out of it, and stereo in and out is cool, but you still need a DI box, and just a few things like that. So I'm sure they'll keep cranking them out. I'd like to try the TC Ampworks pedals because the demos that I heard of those they
look pretty cool.
They sounded good.
Yeah.
They kind of, they look a bit budget, I will admit. Like the UA stuff, when you unbox it, it's like, it screams premium.
Man, TC's Behringer, right? Like, ultimately.
Yeah.
So, and no disrespect to that. Like, the Behringer companies that they bought are still doing high quality stuff. If it's Clark Technic stuff or if it's Midas or whatever. So it's all fine. But there maybe it has a little bit more of that sort of stigma attached to it somehow. And you know what? Maybe it actually doesn't matter. Like I got this box today with this pedal. He has the box, everybody. And I almost joked to the guy that I bought it off, like, I'm literally going to chuck this in the bin because why the fuck do I want another box for a pedal? Like, I'm going to take the sticker out of it. I love stickers, man. I really do appreciate that. But this what's this thing? Ultimate switcher for tough tonal mountains. Like, I don't care about that. Like, I got all this stuff now. You can just go in the bin, mate. Like, I don't know. Like, give me a budget box. As long as the unit isn't damaged when I receive it, that's probably okay. The fucking packaging. I need to actually get onto the shop about this, but here's the box for the tuner that I bought on Monday, and the packaging's good, but guess what? Didn't have the fucking power supply with it. So thankfully I had a spare one, but I'd prefer that it shipped with the things that it came with and not just like lots of nice foam. But that's just me. I'm a crazy person.
I'm trying to remember where the article was where someone, keeping the box for stuff. Mm-hmm. And granted, this person was someone who was renting an apartment in New York. So the rent was at the high end of the scale of what anyone would pay on planet Earth. But it's sort of like, I just sat down and worked out basically the volume of the space he was renting, and it wasn't that high, and found out like a cost per cubic meter of what he was paying. And then he added up the volume of all the boxes for stuff he was keeping just in case, and basically how much space that was taking up in terms of money. And he was like, oh yeah, just throw the box out. It doesn't matter. Like if you need another box, just go to like a box, any place
go
that
see
makes
Bart
boxes.
Simpson's box factory.
Yeah, exactly. Go to the box factory and just pay a few dollars for the box.
Yeah.
And have a slightly cleaner house with more space in it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that I remember reading that and just being like, yeah, you know what? There's actually no better feeling than getting a new thing and immediately throwing the box out.
Yeah, man. I've got a few that I like. That one will go in the bin. Actually, the only reason I kept it was I think some things I want to make sure it's working for a little bit in case I need to send it back. But I mean, it's a tuner. Like there's not that many moving parts in it, man. I'll just chuck it in the bin.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
There's a whole culture around that, like keeping the box for stuff, and I guess like if you like I said with pedals and how they like for me a pedal is just like it's sound a certain way, and I like things that have switches and buttons I can do stuff. Like to me, I want more tools. Like I want a hammer.
Yeah.
I don't really care about the extra features of it. So the act of buying the hammer is so I can use the hammer, not so that I can like go trade the hammer like in 6 months' time.
When people are like, oh, I'm hesitant to buy this Harley Benton guitar because I'm not sure of the resale value. It's like, dude, it's €249. Like, just buy it and play it 3 times and you've got your money's worth.
Yeah. So anyway, just to wrap up on the new Dumble thing, it sounded cool. The demos sounded cool. I did actually watch a Tim Pierce video a couple of days ago where he was playing a real Dumble. It was like Santana's ones. And it's probably one of the few times that I've listened to someone play an amp like that and gone, of course, like that's the sort of style of music that you play through that. And it's like, I wouldn't say it's like a specific genre necessarily, but the sound, it really was very special and like great. Probably not for everything.
But also Tim Pierce is pretty special and, he
kind of
good at guitar.
He goes all right, a bit of a... I'm trying to think of the footy equivalent of Tim Pierce. Would Tim Pierce have won a Brownlow? I feel like he wouldn't have.
No, I reckon he would have won a Brownlow in the late 80s, like a John Platten kind of Brownlow.
I was going to say, maybe he'd win the Norm Smith and you'd forget about him. Like, he's there and he's good. But
like the Shannon Grant.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So anyway, that thing's pretty cool. I guess I probably won't play one in a hurry, but I'll move into the next thing because I have been looking at a piece of gear the last week, and it's interesting. You mentioned it before with the the UA pedals where you still need a DI, because it came into my brain again about the Two Notes Opus, which is one of the few of those series of pedals that actually does have an XLR out on it. And just for me and how I need to use it for maybe like use a device for the Dockers games. Still take the AX8, and I've used that for years and years because it sounds good and it's got XLR outs on it. But the Tonex pedal, the little one, like I've been pretty keen to pick one of those up, but I still need more bits and pieces to run that. So I was kind of like looking into the Opus, which the thing that I discovered with that is if I check it out on YouTube, I don't know if this means anything or not, but like I tried to find it on YouTube, and literally everything I could find scrolling through like a couple dozen videos was from when it launched 10 months ago, and it's like there's not much else outside of that. So I don't really know.
It's a lot cheaper than I expected it to be.
A little over $400. It's not that expensive.
Australian, compared to nearly 700 for a UA pedal. Yeah,
it's got a lot of cool features in it, man. Like, 'cause I had the Cab M for a bit, which I got rid of, but it can do most of what the Cab M can do, as well as having like a good like modeler type thing in it. So it's a cool little device, and it would solve a task for me. And also being able to use it as a straight up IR loader if you wanted to use it for that, or it's kind of interesting. But yeah, I was just surprised, like the fact that in almost 12 months time, it hasn't really, like, doesn't feel like it's taken off that much. Or I might be reading into it too much. I haven't gone to the gear page or anything to read up about it. So
yeah, no, I mean the XLR out, that makes so much sense. And the headphone out, like, it's funny though because the lack of controls on it. I mean, they've just gone the other way and gone, you know what? People have phones, use the Torpedo remote, and Bob's your auntie. Why do you need? You're gonna be staring at your phone in between the gig anyway, so just do it this way.
Oh mate, that's on AFL.com. Checking the scores.
Exactly.
I mean,
you go to AFL.com, you tweak your sound, and you go.
It's kind of like, I go back and forth on this. I think every product's different. I really appreciate the knobs on the IRX. I think it's quick and really easy to dial something in. But I have taken it out of the pedal board, and the knobs have been in a different position. Like, you can tape them down, and that's not the end of the world. But it is nice to have, if you're just going to use it in a very boring way, just have one sound and then there you go.
Yeah. But also it is one of those things with the IRX or the IRD where, that's sort of like when you do a gig with an amp where you're like, cool, at soundcheck, that's when I twist the knobs and get it dialed in.
Yep.
So there's something to be said about that because you have to sort of redo it every time, that you're optimizing it for the gig you're about to do rather than just have a preset. Yeah.
I don't know how many times I've whipped out my phone to change my guitar sounds during a gig. I do it for like my desk that I use for my gigs has an iPad app, which actually, come to think of it, that wasn't working the other day. I've got to get onto that the next day or two because it I was great on Friday, didn't work on Saturday, so I should get onto that. But yeah, outside of that, because I guess there's like no app, like phone app for the Helix or anything as far as I'm aware. And there isn't one for Axifex as well. Is that right?
There's a third-party thing for iPad, which is cool, but again, it doesn't have Bluetooth. So, if either of those units had Bluetooth and you could just do stuff on your phone, that would be pretty sick. I think
Sorry, go.
The Nano Cortex, I think, has the phone app, for doing stuff.
Yeah, I've used the Morningstar has as an app that if you use the Bluetooth to MIDI adapter, then you can control that. So that's kind of, I think cool. One time I needed to use that for a particular reason. I can't remember now why that was, but I don't know. It's I do have a phone mount for my mic stand. Yeah. So it is usually there, but usually it's just checking footy scores, to be honest, in between songs. While I've looped something, I better check what's happening.
Yeah.
Just have to make sure it's at one of those gigs where someone can't walk behind you, like the stage isn't in the middle of the room.
Oh man!
Or I used to do a gig where right where the stage was, like behind the stage was a glass doors where the restaurant was, so you can't really get away with that sort of stuff there. Anyway, but yeah, the Opus thing, it still looks cool. I'm sort of thinking I might roll the dice on it and try it out because if nothing else, having it as an IR loader type of a thing might be kind of useful to have around, and a power amp sim for, because I did try that with the Synergy.
Running preamps, yep.
Yeah. So, man, that was kind of what I was having a look at during the week. That's the thing that's caught my eye.
What caught my eye?
Yeah.
But who's in the gun?
I think UA was in the gun this week, mate.
UA was in the gun this week.
Who did we bitch about last week? Neural? Was it Neural?
Yeah.
No, Fender. No, Gibson it was. We have a big anti-Gibson thing. Which
is funny because I did a video about Les Pauls during the week, right? So,
that's right, yeah.
And people were talking about their Les Pauls, which was awesome. I purposely didn't include any of the Grecos in that one because people were like, where's your Greco? It's still here. It's still chugging along. But yeah, I mean, everyone I hate that kind of, there's nothing else sounds like this. Obviously, there are non-Gibson companies that make great Les Paul style guitars, and there's people who make great Les Paul style replicas, but the Les Paul as a thing, feel like you should just have one.
Absolutely.
It's a type of guitar that, everyone who plays guitar should own. It would be like if you were if you were into your coffee, you just have a pour over setup. It's nice sometimes. Doesn't matter what you do. Like that's the thing. Because
Right.
before mate, this is the segue of all segues. Because I want to get into this. You made an interesting observation about, we were talking about distortion and different amps.
Yep.
And we described as like the texture.
Yep.
So I won't steal your thunder, but tell me what your working theory is.
Yeah, well, actually, it's funny because I think I wanted to talk to you about this in greater detail, but then before we started, I did mention it. So I'll lay it out for everyone. I think this is kind of interesting.
Mate, let's go.
And you can bring a lot to this as well. So I believe it was in one of Jason Headfirst's videos. He mentioned like an SLO, and he sort of made a comment. I think it was Jason. I think it was the SLO. So hopefully I'm not getting this mixed up. But talking about the style of like distortion having like a coarse character to it, like a coarse style. I feel like I maybe even heard Fluff mention that about an SLO before. And I've sort of heard people mention that about JCM 800s, like having like a coarse sort of distortion sound.
Grainy.
Yeah. So I just kind of like, grainy. Yeah. I'm saying coarse, but equating like the style of distortion of an amp to coffee and how you might, grind your coffee. So, you've got, if you have very fine ground coffee, then what does that mean in terms of the flavor profile? What does that do to the sound?
Well, it depends how far you want to go with this. Obviously, you have like Turkish style coffee where you basically grind it into dust,
Yep.
and you kind of end up with like a sludge at the bottom of your coffee. I don't know why, but I want to say in my early 20s, not that I drank it every day, but I feel like I went to a bunch of places where it was like, for 3 seconds, kind of a cool thing to do is get like a Turkish style coffee.
I remember the same thing. And
yeah,
got over
like it was a thing, right? And then everyone kind of got on with their lives. But yeah, that's like grinding it into dust. That's your like, so that's just before we start classifying, that's one end of the spectrum.
Yep.
And then you've got your, I guess, very coarse, maybe more coarse ground stuff like your filter style stuff, or your, your French press or your cafetiere, if you're French.
Ultimately,
you would call it that.
Yeah, ultimately though, like how you grind your coffee, you still make a great cup of coffee either way. Sometimes they just serve different purposes. Maybe you want your, I don't know what, I honestly don't think about my ground so much because I just buy my coffee and then drink it and enjoy it. And I'll take whatever Nespresso happens to put in their pods occasionally as well. But it's actually not a terrible way of classifying distortion, like in terms of talking about like thinking about the grind. And I don't mean the grind.
Yeah,
this is how grindy, but like how coarse or how fine is it? So yeah, if you put that like I don't know like a JCM 800 or something like on the grind scale, and you say that's got kind of maybe a coarser grind, like I'd say something like an Engel. Maybe is on the opposite side, or like the European style of distortion to me is like a finer grind.
That's your mocha pot.
Yeah, it's something that you might use for more like metal stuff. Whereas I feel like the finer the grind, the more the more heavy metal it is. And then
you've also got fuzz in there as well, which is just the beans in water. I think they call that cowboy coffee, right? Where you just you don't have any way to grind it. Just here you go. I know and shout out to anyone who's listening from South America in particular. I believe a popular way of having coffee in parts there is basically like you have kind of like a Hessian sock, and you put your coffee in that, and you basically use it like a filter, like if you were doing a V60 or a Chemex or something. So you pour water into the Hessian sock that has coffee in it, and it drips out. Mm-hmm. And apparently it's quite a delicious way to do it. So, I would say maybe like espresso, that might be your Mark series style thing, because, you really got to dial it in, and like fine adjustments can make a big difference. Mm-hmm. But then also, you chuck a bunch of frothy milk with it and you get a flat white. So whatever. The dual rectifier, probably closer to your like coarse, but like super strong, right?
Yeah. It's exactly. It's like
that's your drip coffee.
To me, that's it in the middle, because like the way that the distortion is, like the texture of the distortion can still have that like fizz and fuzz to it. Yep. So to me, that lends it more towards that side. Kind of interesting, right? Take a like not something that's a high gain, but take like a tweed sound, right? To me, that's a coarse. That's a very coarse type of a distortion sound, right? It's got a bit of...
And you dumbles your Turkish coffee.
Yeah, I guess so. But yeah, we'll have
Super
to,
Smooth. Super Smooth by Rob Thomas featuring Carlos Santana. Or is it the other way around?
I think it's Carlos Santana featuring Rob Thomas, yeah. That was on his album, Supernatural, 1990.
Supernatural.
99, for it. I got that album in 1998 for Christmas, or 99.
Wasn't that so funny as a, like, just being a kid and people being like, Carlos Santana is he is, mate, you want to hear this bloke play? He plays like he invented the guitar. Also, did you know he's been around for 1,000,000 years?
Yeah. I listened to a podcast years ago and they were talking about how, or the host of the podcast mentioned that they maybe were roommates with Santana's daughter or son or something like that. And apparently, like, Carlos called one day to talk to their, like, child. And they were like, yeah, can I speak to so-and-so? And they said, I'll go get him, sort of thing. And Carlos was like, wait, let me talk to you first. And then just couldn't get off the phone with Carlos Santana for like 20 minutes. So,
oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. I remember like hearing that solo for Smooth before I really knew what lead guitar was. And there's like the very end, there's like a lick that is, it's not that quick, but if you're not familiar with like fast guitar
Ladies
playing,
and gentlemen, there is the Carlos Santana lick. And I also thought this was the greatest thing I'd ever heard in my life. And let's face it, it's pretty mad. But I'm just going to get a plectrum because I'm fairly certain Carlos
plectrum.
plays with a plectrum.
Yeah, he doesn't use a pick.
So, he just kind of gets these notes and just goes...
Yeah. That's the lick. I mean, that's it.
That's the lick. And if you do that and you're 11, then you're a god.
Yep.
And, I mean, actually, Carlos is one of the sickest mad dogs ever.
Yeah.
And because he sort of became a meme for a while. But, I remember growing up and hearing the instrumental track Europa. And it's great. I feel like he's one of the first guys who probably got obsessed with tone. Mm. He was
this mess of really
he was
boogies.
into it. Yeah. I'd love the idea of like a really bad Hollywood biopic about him, and like it's just a bunch of vignettes of like those quotes that everyone talks. Wow, that amp really boogies, man.
Yeah.
I love when he talks about. There's an interview where he talks about. I remember watching it and being like, I think I know what he's talking about, but I can also understand why people just wouldn't get it. Where he talks about Cream being the first band who played 3D music.
Okay.
He's like, they were thinking in 3D. And he just goes on this thing where you're like, this makes no sense. But also, I think what he's trying to say is basically, it's like, the three of them as an ensemble didn't just go out and play the songs. They were really into like feeding off each other's energy and like,
right.
Involving the crowd. Yeah. Carlos cares.
Mm.
I don't think there's ever been a time in his life where he's been like, bah, that's fine.
He
Like, it seems like he doesn't phone it in. No, he goes hard. And the very first concert I ever saw was Santana.
Really?
On the Shaman Tour. And he's not actually the first person I ever saw in concert because Yothu Yindi opened up for him. So I caught the last song of Yothu Yindi. They were playing Treaty. So that's the first...
When was that? What year was that?
Thing I ever saw live. It would have been 2000... I was in year... Troy. I think I was in year 9 or year 10. So 2001, 2002.
Yeah, right.
And, a guy who lived down the road. He got tickets for him and his wife was sick. And he came down and he's like, oh, Leon, you play guitar.
I'll just take this 14-year-old boy with me.
Yeah. Like,
couldn't do that these days, mate.
Nah, absolutely not.
Questions would be asked.
Questions would be asked. And it was a Thursday night as well. I remember showing up to school on Friday just like tired and being like, man, I saw Santana last night. And all these kids were like,
who's that?
Who? Do you like Oasis? No, shut up.
Yeah, I think I'm trying to think of who I saw the first time. It was probably the one that always jumps out was seeing the Ataris in 2003. Getting tickets. It was an all ages gig at Capitol and getting tickets that afternoon from 78 Records. And and I had to leave it. It was an early gig too. And my mum picked me up at 7 p.m. because that's when the gig apparently was supposed to finish. And took me to dinner with my family. So yeah, that wasn't very cool. The end of the gig. I think I heard them do Boys of Summer though.
Doesn't getting picked up after finishing a gig at 7 p.m. and then going to dinner sound awesome now though?
Oh mate,
Like, that's all you want.
If I can leave a gig before 7 p.m. or before 7:30, 8 p.m., that's a good night. You can get home, you can watch a little TV, watch
Put the Gear podcast on.
Yeah, put the Gear podcast on. I was going to say watch Only Murders in the Building, but F-Boy Island. We've been watching F-Boy Island.
You're loving it?
Oh, it's it's that ambient TV stuff. I can have it on the background, but then I can also be on my phone, like looking at guitar stuff. I'm not really watching it.
What did Nelson do this time? Oh yeah, cool.
We're not like reality TV people. So it was like the name more than anything else got us involved. And
there you go.
Yeah,
hook, line, and sinker.
Yep.
But yeah, Santana. First concert. What more can I tell you? And also that lick on Smooth. Yeah, when you hear it, you're like, what?
I had a similar thing with Steve Vai, The Audience Is Listening. There's like, right before it gets to that breakdown where there's the like, dun, 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 he does like this one thing, which is drums and like guitar. But it sounded like he was playing so fast he was breaking the time-space continuum.
Yes.
But he was just using a wah pedal. And I didn't know that's what it sounded like.
Man, I want to say the first solo, I was actually playing this yesterday because I was trying to, when you're driving, you're like, yes, I just thought of a song, I want to listen to it. So you do the like Siri or Google thing, whatever it is. And I wanted to hear a Blue Oyster Cult song because it popped into my head. And then the song that played after it was Don't Believe a Word by Thin Lizzy, which is one of the first songs I ever learnt on guitar. And it's also like, I think it's the solo that made me want to play rock music because it's just like, he's just using a wah pedal and he's bending and tremolo picking as he releases the bend.
Yep.
And it's just the best sounding thing I'd ever heard in my life.
It's a cool sound, man. That's a very cool
I was
sound.
like, man, I've never learnt that solo. Like, so I sat down and learnt some of it. And yeah, it was awesome. And I was like, yeah, that's why I started.
You can put out a video. What do you call them? When your uncle listens to Thin Lizzy for the first time, what is it that you do?
Yep. Yeah, those ones. Where I'm just chopping up all my old videos lazily, farming them out for views.
Mate, you've got a holiday to get to, so.
Yeah, exactly. When you have, look, mate, over 2,000 videos on your channel, sometimes people just don't watch them, and you're like, like I watched some video that I did for an Octave Fuzz, and I forgot that I learnt this Eric Gales band song, which is sick. It's what's it called? Something of the Storm, but it's King's X. Like, have you ever heard that first, like the Gales band?
Remember, I've heard the album he did with Doug Pinnick and who's the drummer?
Ray Luzier?
No, it was around the same time. I can't remember. I can't remember the name of the band. PE or EP something.
Sign of the Storm. That's a song. Everyone should go and listen to it. Oh, yeah. Thomas Pridgeon.
Yeah, that's the one, yeah.
Yeah, he's great.
Yep.
He's great.
PG, GEP, EPG, something like that.
Yep.
Yeah,
Eric Gale's Sign of the Storm. It's, man, it's basically a King's X song. It's awesome. But with Eric Gales playing guitar, so it's super awesome. Like, I think it's his brother singing and playing bass as well. But yeah, they got the big gospel inspired harmonies on there and the like funky riffs, and yeah, it's like, man, one of my students today like sat down and he's 15 or 16, he started playing Scorpions' Tease Me, Please Me. And I was like, yeah. And he goes, yeah, it's funny that like all the music that came out from 1990 to 1992 sounded more like the 80s than the 80s actually did. And I was like,
wow, that
is profound. That is. And I was like, oh yeah, have you heard? And then I was like, oh yeah, have you heard Black Sabbath with Glenn Hughes singing? And he just started playing Danger Zone. And I was like,
who's this kid?
You are, yeah, this is actually me when I was that age, but you can play all these things rather than just knowing what they were. So
the kids are going to be all right,
mate, the kids are going to be all right. Mate, on that note, I have absolutely nothing else to give aside from the fact that, again, Sydney grand final win, that's what you're tipping?
I think so. I think Sydney by 14. Well, I guess you're on administrative leave next week.
Yeah, so. Exactly. I'm on holiday for a few weeks, so yeah, I will be.
Hey, if you get, shout out to Torin. If you get 20 minutes, we'll do an away podcast.
Yeah, we should. That'd be awesome. I'm looking forward to that.
Actually, yeah. Should we do that? Let's do like a I'll be here, you'll be over there, and I'll just be
Yep.
like, oi, Leon, go over to that thing. Just zoom in on that thing for a
turn
second.
it on.
Yep.
Turn it on. We'll just, yes. I love that idea.
Yep.
And thank you to everyone who's subscribed to the Gear Podcast YouTube channel. We're nearly at 100 subscribers. So
Oh.
tell your mates.
Mate, if you add
Tell
that,
your significant other.
if you add that to
subscribe.
your main channel, that's we've got over 100,000
Yeah.
subscribers.
It was like, yep, me and Dustin Martin were standing in line to get a coffee.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, you had 3 Norm Smith medals between us and a Brownlow.
Oh, very good. All right, mate.
Oh,
Well,
yeah, and very quickly before we go, mate, Paddy Cripps, Northampton boy, smashing the record,
Yeah.
45 votes in the Brownlow.
yeah. Did you watch it?
I kept an eye on the live blog.
Yeah, I
I
listened to
also
it.
tipped, though, when he was on 30 votes, like with so many rounds to go, I was like, I wonder if he'll get to 45. Like, he won't get to 50, but he'll probably beat 40. And, yeah, he got it.
Yep. I'm just happy that Nick Dacos lost something. Yep. You can't get everything in life, Nick Dacos. He got a
Yeah,
premiership
how
last
salty
year.
was, like, the entire football media industry as well. Like, Nick Dacos isn't winning.
Yeah, Nick Dacos didn't win. There's no Victorian teams in the grand final this year. You know,
Yep.
Victorians are just miserable this week. Delicious.
It's good for the game, mate. It's good for the game. That's
for
what
us.
I'll tell you. But deep inside,
Yep.
they're not thinking it's good for the game. All right, we're out of here. Thank you, guys. We will see you in a couple of weeks.
Peace.